Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have the next tank video for you in the British line. This is the Tier 8 Caernarvon, and we have a complete guide starting with tech spec. But before we get into that, let's have a look at the name itself, because many of you probably looked at this and you thought, what the fuck sort of a name is that? Caernarvon? Well, actually Caernarvon is a place in Wales. It's actually a famous castle. And indeed, there was a famous Lord Caernarvon who financed the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb. It's pronounced Caernarvon like that, which is easy, right? So that's how it's done phonetically. That, of course, is an Anglicization of the Welsh. So I won't even try to pronounce what it is in Welsh. But in English, the Anglicized version is Caernarvon, as in Lord Caernarvon and Caernarvon Castle. Now let's have a look at the tech spec. As always, we will use blitzhanger.com. which is a fantastic asset, and I would recommend it for all blizzards. It's free and definitely worth checking out before you play a tank. Now, this video is also part of our premium tank giveaway. If you're unfamiliar with this, there are three code words that you need to collect. When you have all three, then just email me, email address to come. Now, two of the code words have already been published. But this is a recap here of the first two code words, so you'll find the first two code words if you've missed them already here, and there's also a tip for where to find the third and last code word in the competition giveaway. That video will be coming in a couple of days. When you then have all three code words, just email me the three code words. If they're correct, you will go into a draw on the 24th of April. Here's the email address, armouredpants@gmail.com, easy peasy lemon squeezy. You go into a draw, the winner will be picked at random, and then you can pick any tank in the shop at that time. Now, let's have a look at the Caernarvon. It follows on from the Black Prince, which we recently just looked at. Now, there is a new provision with this, which also appeared on the Black Prince, and it's sandbag armour. And there are two versions of this. There's an enhanced and a standard. They give you additional hit points, so you get 48 hit points. It's standard sandbag armor, 96 hit points, just under 100 hit points with the enhanced. And that sounds good, particularly for a heavy tank, right? But I don't use them, and I wouldn't recommend that you use them for this reason, that if you use a different provision which allows you to max out crew skills, etc., if you get one extra pen in this tank is 190 plus hit points, or rather damage points. And if you get one extra bounce, well, that's 200 to maybe 500 hit points, depending on what tries to hit you. So therefore, maxing out crew skills, etc., I think is probably better. Therefore, I would run Black Tea to max the DPM and the view range, improved fuel, and pudding and tea. They're the three provisions I would use, and I wouldn't use enhanced armor for the mathematical reasons that we just discussed. Now, there are three guns on this tank. A 76mm, which is a low gun, and two 83.4 84mm guns. Top gun, obviously, as you might expect, has the best DPM. Now, the top gun has 226mm of pen with AP, 237mm of pen if you use calibrated shells, and that does 190 plus damage points. APCR gives you 258mm of pen, going up to 271 if you run calibrated shells. HE has 42 and 46mm of pen respectively, depending on whether you run gun rammer or calibrated shells. I would load up AP mostly, a lot of APCR because it's a small caliber gun, and a small amount of HE because you've got low pen on that. Reload is 4.4 seconds with gun rammer, 4.8 seconds with calibrated shells. So even with calibrated shells, you still have a good rate of fire. I personally prefer gun rammer, but that's just my preference. Most velocity is 10-20 meters per second. If you use supercharge, that goes up to 13-26 meters per second. And of course, in a heavy tank, I would always use supercharge. Supercharge has a direct impact on your ability to pen. APCR has faster shells. They do 1658 meters per second with supercharge, so they're significantly faster, so bear that in mind for shell selection. Dispersion with refined gun is excellent. It's only 0.261. It's really outstanding, one of the best in the tier. That means that at 100 meters, the maximum deviation you can have from your center of your target is 26.1 centimeters. 10 degrees gun depression is great, 18 degrees in elevation, so this has really good gun alignment. This means that you're able to align your barrel with the enemy tanks relatively easy in this tank. Now, its speed is a big improvement on the Black Prince. It's 34 kilometers per hour, 12 kilometers in reverse, and it has a decent power to weight ratio too. So although not the fastest tank, it gets up to that 34 kilometers an hour relatively quickly. So it's significantly more mobile than the Black Prince before it, and which obviously allows you to engage in more places on the map than you can with the Black Prince. There's great traverse, therefore is a great brawler, and this will come as a surprise to people who are not familiar with this tank, and you'll see its brawling power exhibited in the gameplay when we have a look at that. Its consumer numbers are poor, as you would expect for a heavy tank, but just be aware that while you're moving, a light tank or a spotting tank only needs to get within 288 meters of you to spot you up, so you will get spotted early if there is a fast tank on the other team. Particularly a light tank with good gun range, he will spot you up nice and early, so just be aware of that when you're moving off from spawn. Try to move from cover to cover, because this thing pings, that light bulb will be going nice and early, so just please bear that in mind. If there's a Rim, Borsig or a Waffle Tractor, if you're up tiered on the other team, you can find yourself very easily eliminated or down to one hit very early on, the first 30 seconds of the game, if the other team have a spotter and a TD player who know what they are doing. Now, this tank is a really good heavy tank if played to its strengths. If you try to play it as an IS-3, an IS-5 or other tanks that you would normally play, you will find it lacking, because that's not what this tank is about. If we look at the armor profile here, we'll see it does have good armor, but most of its strength comes in its turret. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that this is a hold down tank, that if you can get into a position where you're protecting the lower plate, with that gun depression and that turret, you can do very effective damage to the other team. We also see that, like many British tanks, it has spaced armor on the tracks. That means that you can't be penned by HE, heat or HESH if you're on the side, because it will explode on impact and do no or minimal damage. They can of course go for that small piece of unprotected armor, flat armor on the side, but that is a very small target. As we know, aim small, miss small. If you're aiming at a very small target, particularly with let's say more patchy shells, that is shells that have more patchy accuracy like HE, you have more chance of missing. HE generally tends to have a much lower muzzle velocity, therefore it is more difficult to be accurate with it. We can see here the gun mantlet makes up a large portion of the turret. Therefore it means that your turret is very well protected. Shells can't pen the gun mantlet, and therefore you see how effective this is as a hold down tank. We see if you're top tier, apart from the lower plate, you're difficult to pen front on, and if you're up tiered, you can see that again, difficult to pen. You can be penned at the top of the turret, but it's difficult. It's a small target. It's really the lower mantlet which is the vulnerable part of the tank when you're front on. If you can hide that lower mantlet, particularly with that gun depression, that turret, you will have a very effective game in this tank. So tactics in this tank, obviously going hull down are the main tactics if that is possible. With the rapid fire you can do a lot of damage in this tank. If you use supercharger fine gun, it can be an effective sniper, but of course that's not always the role of a heavy tank. So let's have a look at some gameplay here where I am top tier and therefore I decide to go front line in this tank. If I was, let's say, bottom tier, or if I'd been up tiered, I would probably play a support role. But as I'm top tier in this tank, I feel that I can go front line. So I'm going to use the good power to weight ratio, and I'm going to go up the hill here, and I'm going to go towards C. I'm going towards C because I think that we need to cap C, but also I feel that the hills, the small hills that are near C here on this map, Black Goldville, will enable me to hide that very vulnerable front plate, lower front plate that we looked at, allow me to use my fast rate of fire and my turret armor to be effective. So you can see here, this is exactly what I do here in an adaptive position, where I am covering that vulnerable lower mantlet, and I am just showing my turret, and this is a really good position in this tank. And here we have our first customer of the day. Bam, supercharge, that increased muscle velocity in action. You see there, smash that straight into the tiger. I'm going to go to push on now, because I know that I am top tier, so I'm not really too afraid of you know, being outgunned here. I'm going to cap the base, see if I can get any shots on. I can support my my ally there, and then I can use my good rate of fire, and there we go. Boom, nice shot, clear him off. And we can see here just how effective the tank is. I'm going to slow it down so we can see that DPM in action, and there we go. Boom, 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 clear off the tiger. Capture the base. Good job. I think we did our job there as heavy tanks. We cleared off the flank, took out one of the enemy tanks, and captured the base. So myself and the other heavy have done a good job. Now, again, I am utilizing the strength of this tank. I am utilizing the taking out Hulk of the tiger, and I am going to just put forward my turret, and you can see there, big bounce from the T28 defender. And look at this gun accuracy here, smallest of targets, bam, straight through, using APCR, using that extra pen and a higher muzzle velocity straight in. And this T28 defender, he is getting only the slightest side of me. He gets one into the back of me there, but I put another one into him. But really, I'm adapting this really difficult position for him to pen here, just showing the turret armor, and that's another shot straight into him. Now it was a one shot, so I push on. So great exchange there. You can see I put, I think, 4 shots into him. He got one into me, which was lucky. I was trying to get into a position that I was front onto him, and he just caught me in the butt. But pretty happy with that exchange. And there we go. You see the gun accuracy again in action there. That low dispersion, increased muzzle velocity. Excellent shot straight into the turret of the Panther M10. So we've done a good job there, and now we're a tank up, but that's soon going to change, because we're going to lose our Pershing here, I think. Trying to get a shot onto the IS, slam one into him, but I think we're going to lose our Pershing here, and now we are down to 3v2, so we went from 4v3 to 3v2. Again, I'm adapting position where I am just showing my turret. Again, another bounce, and you can see if you go hold down just how effective this tank is at bouncing shots with that turret. The gun mantle takes up a huge amount of space on the turret, and then with the turret armor around the bottom part of that gun mantle, it's almost impossible to pen. You can see there, got several bounces in this game by adopting those positions. And this is not rocket science, very simple. It's just understanding the tank that you're in. And again, you know, adapting those positions, understanding where to go, what piece of your tank to show out, it shows why it's so important to research your tank, to watch a review like this, or to go to Blitz Hangar, because if you don't understand the strengths of your tank, you can easily you know, have a bad game, and you know, you find, you say, oh, it doesn't work for me, I don't understand why people say it's a good tank or whatever. Again, we're going to see the brawling power of the tank here. I've no choice, I'm going to have to take a hit from him, but I'm easily out DPM him, and I'm just going to clear him off. And you can see here I am just smashing the crap out of him, and that's just brawling power in action of this tank. You know, I wasn't sure. I thought I might get a bounce off the turret there, because you know, the ISU has limited gun depression, but he pushed down and got one into me. But once he has one shot on me, that's it, because the DPM of this tank is just awesome, and I just smashed the crap out of him. It's game over from him. Now we're in a 1v1 situation. I'm in a less maneuverable tank than T54 Mod 1, so I decide to stay. It's a patience game now, and I am just going to cap B. That puts the pressure on him. He has to come towards me. And put one into him here, and put another one into him here, and you can see just the power of the DPM in this. And then I get a bounce off him because I'm just showing him my turret, get a bounce off him, another one into him, and now he's a one-shot. I switched up to APCR because I don't want any messing around. I don't want any misses. I just want to make sure I get the kill, and there we go, bam. Kill for me, close in the end, but mastery game delivered in the Caernarvon. And there we go, significant damage dealt, 3.3k damage, 4 kills, with a lot of bounces. And you know, again, preparation is the key. Understanding your tank, understanding what positions you can adopt. So you see there when I was taking on the T28 defender, for example, right? Understanding the strengths of my tank enabled me to use the Hulk of the Tiger 1 to get into a very strong position where I could do damage to them and take almost no hits. Now, if you don't understand the armor profile of your tank, or if you don't understand, you know, how the tank operates, its gun system, strength of its turret and all that, then you may not have adopted that position there. You may have pushed out, you may have tried to push onto him, and then you're just going to get pinned, you know, and like 3 shots, full magazine from T28 defender is going to take me out. And that's the difference between understanding your tank, being prepared, and not understanding your tank and playing without that in mind. Now let's have a quick recap on this very effective heavy. It's a very effective heavy, but as I said, it's not typical. It doesn't have that really strong turret armor on the front, really strong frontal armor like an IS-3 or a Tiger 2. But it has other strengths. For example, it's DPM monster, right, giving you 4.4, 4.8 second reload, depending on whether you use calibrated shells or not. It's faster than Tier 7, it's a big improvement on the Black Prince. Therefore, more of the map opens up to you. You don't have to play in a limited pocket as you do with the Black Prince. There are 3 gun types. The top gun is important because you have a low caliber gun. It's only 88 millimeters, so therefore getting the top gun is important. Gun rammer or calibrated shells both work. It depends on your own preference. I prefer gun rammer myself, but calibrated shells also work in this too. In terms of provisions, black tea, improved fuel, and pudding and tea are what I run on this. But again, that's my personal preference. I use supercharged to max out the muzzle velocity and refined gun to reduce that dispersion, and as we saw, those dispersion numbers are fantastic and lead to amazing gun accuracy. 10 degrees of gun depression is excellent, 8 degrees in elevation, which means this has good gun alignment. It's easy to align your barrel with the enemy. Good power to weight ratio and good traverse means that this is a good brawler. You saw the power of it brawling on 2 separate occasions against the ISU and against the T54 Mod 1. And it's a hold down monster, as you saw when the positions that I adopted during the game. That turret reload and the gun depression make it a hold down monster. It's very formidable in that position. Enhanced armor I would use to get even more bounces, and I was running enhanced armor during that game. I would also use engine accelerator. It helps with brawling, and because it helps with both the speed traverse as well. And I saw there that it is very effective when that is upgraded. Don't be afraid to use APCR. That's what's there for a reason. I mean, don't listen to people who say you're a gold noob or anything like that. APCR is there for a reason. If you didn't need it, it wouldn't be in the game. Use it when you need it, as I did on several occasions there. And don't be afraid to use it. That is what it's for. The music was Gustav Holst's Planet Suite, Mars, the Bringer of War, which I think is quite apt for the Caernarvon, because in this instance it certainly did bring war to the Reds. And the other music is the Horde from the Warcraft original soundtrack, another great piece of music from an underrated, but actually I thought very good movie. Let's hope they get the financing for the sequel. So cheers Mush, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful. I guess all that remains for me to say is keep your masks on, keep safe, and keep your pants off.